So good morning, class. Welcome to our second lesson of nutrients, or rather our continuation of the topic of nutrients. Last week we were looking at those nutrients that actually have, are energy giving, or maybe give a lot of bulk in food, and also can contribute to either to weight gain, and also maybe risk the body with lifestyle diseases and heart disease. So we looked at proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And when, of course, we said when they're eaten in very large amounts, they tend to be stored as fats in the body, and those fats also tend to now bring the risks to the body. So today we are going to look at the other three nutrients, which are vitamins, minerals, and water. Vitamins generally are generally essential nutrients that we actually get from food, and you can actually get them from both animal and plant sources. Then you'll find that we have two types of vitamins, and those are the water-soluble vitamins and the fat-soluble vitamins. Before we proceed, I want to hear the kind of vitamins that we know. You unataja moja and maybe what you feel it's supposed to give to the body. We start with Godfrey.
Sorry?
I'm asking that you tell us one vitamin that you know and what functions it performs in the body.
Vegetables.
Vegetable, no, one vitamin. A vitamin, like we have vitamin A even.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vitamin.
Yeah, vitamin A.
Vitamin A. And what does it do to the body? What does it do? Onacha? Onacha, what vitamin? James?
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C. And what is it used for? Okay, vitamin C is very good in boosting the immunity of a person, and also prevents maybe diseases like scurvy, and generally heals wounds. Okay.
What about vitamin D?
Vitamin D generally helps in the absorption of calcium in the body. So therefore, it contributes to strong bones, teeth, and such. Okay, and then you also have like vitamin A is very important in vision. Like,
I got vitamin D for scurvy.
Sorry, I didn't get you, Tabitha.
I thought vitamin D it's for scurvy.
Hapana, si ndio ya scurvy, ndio ina prevent scurvy.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, now I want us to go back to go into our notes and look at these vitamins. Like we said, we have water-soluble vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins. Water-soluble vitamins are actually B and C vitamins. Okay? So let us look at them. Okay? A vitamin is an organic molecule that is an essential micronutrient that is needed in smaller quantities for proper functioning of the body's metabolism. Okay, we said that essential nutrients cannot be synthesized in the body or in the organism. And we say they are divided into two, that is water soluble and fat soluble vitamins. So we look at the first one, which is water soluble vitamins, and we say that they travel freely through the body, and excess amounts usually are extracted by the kidneys. You need it in frequent small doses. Okay, so that means what? That water soluble vitamins actually are what can freely flow in the body, and we can actually be able to excrete excess through the kidneys. Okay, examples of these water soluble vitamins are there. Can you see? I hope you can see my screen. It looks very small. Can you see them?
Yes.
No.
Why can't you see them?
Yes.
Yeah? Tabitha, why can't you see them?
Enlarge them.
I have tried my best. Nikijaribu kuisukuma kuliko hivyo itanini. So we have the first vitamin, that is B1, or what we call thiamine. Vitamin B1, of course, it is part of an enzyme because it is needed for energy metabolism and also maintain normal digestion or appetite, and also very important to nerve function. Okay, actually most of the vitamins B, they tend to support the nervous system or nerve function. Okay, they are found in nutritious foods in moderate amounts, like we can have it in pork, in whole grain cereals, or enriched breads that have maybe zimeongezwa seeds. I know you have seen them, like Enns Valley bread with pumpkin seeds, poppy seeds, and all those other seeds that you find on that. Then you have legumes. All legumes there, we have seeds there. We are talking about beans, lentils, grams, peas. All those are the legumes. And then you have nuts and grains. So I think there's a lot of kuna kujirudia hapo, because when you're talking about seeds, you're talking about the cereals. Then we have vitamin B2, or what we call riboflavin, and it's also a part of an enzyme needed for energy metabolism, and also aids in adrenal function, and important for normal vision and skin health. Vitamin B is found in milk and its products, leafy green vegetables, all the greens like skuma wiki, spinach, collard greens, Swiss chard, all those, and also the kienyeji mboga like kunde, do you call them amaranthas or terere, those ones, mchicha. Then we have whole grain cereals again coming in with the enriched breads and cereals. Then lean meat, that is either beef, pork, mutton. Then we have poultry. Then fortified soy or rice beverages. So like soy drink, the soya drink. And then you also have rice beverages, we call it steak, but of course the rice beverage is alcoholic. Then we have raw mushrooms, also are rich in vitamin B2. We also have vitamin B3, which is niacin, also a part of an enzyme needed for energy metabolism. It is also important for nervous system, digestive system, and skin health. Generally, your skin looking healthy is going to be contributed to by the presence of vitamin B3. So sources of vitamin B3 ni meat, poultry, fish, whole grain, or enriched breads and cereals. Then we have vegetables, especially mushrooms, asparagus, and leafy green vegetables, and peanut butter. Okay, so nuts also are part of that. Then we have another one there, vitamin B4, into pantothenic acid, vitamin B4. It is also part of an enzyme needed for energy metabolism, and it is generally in all foods. It is found in all manner of foods. Then we have L-lutein or B5, which is also a part of an enzyme needed for energy metabolism, and also found in a lot of foods, and also may be produced by the body itself in the intestinal tract. Okay, number B6. In fact, B6, when you take a lot of it, you eat it in excess, it may bring disorders in the body. Vitamin B6 is also a part of an enzyme needed for protein metabolism. And it helps make red blood cells. Remember that the red blood cells are other blood cells are generally protein. So it helps in making those. Then, of course, it is generally found in meat, fish, poultry, and then vegetables and fruits. All right. Then we go to folic acid. There, folic acid, or what we call folate, is also part of an enzyme needed for making DNA and new cells. I'm sure we all know what DNA is, isn't it? Can someone tell us what DNA is? DNA is some protein structure in the body that defines who we are. And you know that your DNA is very unique to you. It is very unique to you. And of course, it can be traceable to members of the family. So, of course, if you are born of your mother and father, your DNA structure tends to to be molded from theirs. So you can see that that it has some similarities, but very, very unique. There's no way my DNA could be connected to yours if we have no relation at all, isn't it? Yes, very, very important detail there. So then it is found in folic acid is found in leafy green vegetables and legumes, seeds, orange juice, and liver. Okay, and today it is you see ungas that have been fortified. They say fortified with folic acid and such. Vitamin A and B. Those are fortifications, or what we mean by now added to most refined grains, like hizo unga za hostess, unga ya ngano, that they are fortifying. Even sugar nowadays, they are fortifying with vitamins, isn't it? Then we have vitamin B12, or what we call cobalamin. Cobalamin is actually also part of an enzyme needed for making new cells in the body, and it is also important to nerve function. So when you feel your miguu zako ziko tingly, unasikia ni kama zimeganda mikono pia, then it means that your intake of vitamin B may actually be very low. Then we have sources of vitamin B12 are generally meat, poultry, fish, seafood, eggs, milk, and milk products. It is not found in plant foods at all. Okay. Then we have ascorbic acid, or what we generally call vitamin C. Vitamin C. It is an antioxidant. Okay. Part of an enzyme also needed for protein metabolism. It is also important for immune system health and aids in iron absorption. Then also strengthens blood vessel walls and promotes wound healing. So that is where scurvy is prevented. Okay, it is found only in fruits and vegetables, especially the citrus fruits. The citrus fruits, vegetables in the cabbage family, that is broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage itself, red cabbage, the Napa cabbage, the endives, all those that look like they wanted to form like a cabbage can actually give a lot of vitamin C. Then we have sweet melon is what we are calling here cantaloupe. And sweet melon is not like red, the melon that is red in color inside. The sweet melon is a bit smaller. It looks like a pawpaw inside. Sometimes can also look at like green, like the kiwi. It is not as okay. It is sweet, but some may not be sweet. Then we have strawberries, peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, lettuce, pawpaw or papaya, and mangoes. Also being rich in vitamin C. Okay. Then I think we look at fat-soluble vitamins. We say that they are stored in the body cells and are not excreted as easily as water-soluble vitamins. So the body will not be able to get rid of the excess fat-soluble vitamins when you take too much. Okay, they also don't need to be eaten regularly. So you only eat in small amounts. Okay, so fat-soluble vitamins generally will be found in fatty foods. Okay, if you take too much of a fat-soluble vitamin, it could also become toxic. Like it could cause the heart disorders or generally heart disease. A balanced diet usually provides enough fat-soluble vitamins. You may find it more difficult to get enough vitamin D from food alone, and you may consider taking a vitamin D supplement or a multivitamin with a vitamin D in it. So, of course, all vitamins actually can be made into supplements. We can get them from the chemists. Then we look at the fat-soluble vitamins. We have vitamins A, or what we call retinol. Retinol is vitamin A. Then we have its precursor, which is beta-carotene. Okay? A precursor is converted by the body to the vitamin if it where it is needed. So vitamin A, which is retinol, is needed for vision, healthy skin, and mucous membranes. So the mucus that is needed in your saliva is needed in your nose, in your ears, in the stomach is going to be made by vitamin A, sorry. Then it is also needed for bone and tooth growth, immune system, health, and it plays an important role in growth and cell development. Okay, beta-carotene also helps with the same things here. So because it is a precursor of the vitamin A, whatever vitamin A does, beta-carotene does. So it also promotes healthy skin, hair, nail, gums, and glands, bones, and teeth. Sorry. It also prevents night blindness and may help prevent lung cancer. Sources of food rich in vitamin A are from animal sources like fortified milk, cheese, cream, butter, fortified margarine, eggs, and liver, and salmon. Salmon is a fish. Then beta-carotene is actually gotten from the plants. Now we have leafy dark green vegetables, dark orange fruits like apricot, and then vegetables like carrots, squash ni kaka malenge kenye kanaka guad. Then we have sweet potatoes and pumpkin. All foods that are yellow or orange in color have beta-carotene. Then we have vitamin D. Vitamin D is the other fat-soluble vitamin. It is needed for proper absorption of calcium, and it is stored in bones. Okay? Needed for proper absorption of calcium and stored in bones. Okay. Vitamin sources of this are egg yolks, liver, fatty fish, fortified milk, fortified margarine. When exposed to sunlight, the skin can also make vitamin D, and that is why unaambiwa uoteshe mtoto jua when they are very young, and also make sure that kids go out there and maybe get some sun. But when, of course, they are going to school, we have enough of that. Right now, when they are at home, they need to go out there and absorb some vitamin D. So maybe and now make sure they get some and don't interact with other people, then bring them back to the house. Okay. So vitamin D can be made from the sun, especially the early morning sun or the late afternoon sun. Then, of course, we look at vitamins E. Vitamin E is also a fat-soluble vitamin, and it is also an antioxidant like vitamin C. It protects cell walls and also protects fatty acids and maintains muscle and red blood cells, just like vitamin C. It is gotten from polyunsaturated plant oil such as soybean, corn, cottonseed, safflower, and that. Are we still there? Okay, we also have vitamin K. Vitamin K is needed for proper blood clotting, and it is found in leafy green vegetables such as kales, collard greens, and spinach, and broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and also it can be produced in the intestinal tract by bacteria. So the body can be able to make some for itself. Okay, then those are the vitamins, both the water soluble and the fat soluble. So water soluble vitamins are actually B and C vitamins. B and C vitamins. And I'm going to give you an assignment, or rather a challenge. Go and look for vitamin B17. Vitamin B17, and see what it does to the body and its sources. And of course, the rumors and controversies surrounding vitamin B17. Okay. Make sure you note somewhere in your book that you're going to look for sources, or to look at vitamin B17, its sources, its functions, controversies surrounding it, and generally the positives of around it. Okay. Yes. So then we can see that the foods that we eat normally, that we said are rich in proteins and also carbohydrates, are also rich in these vitamins. Okay, like the whole grain cereals, the meats, the poultry, the fish are also very rich in these vitamins. Okay. Then we also talked a lot of vegetables were not found in either carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, but now we have them here in vitamins, isn't it? So we find that vitamins have no calorific value. Like vegetables have no calorific value, and they are actually required for the body's metabolism, energy synthesis, protein synthesis, and all that, isn't it? So we need to eat lots of vegetables and fruits to make sure that we have a good supply of vitamins. Remember, tumeambiwa fat soluble vitamins should not be taken in excesses, because the body will not be able to excrete them itself. But water soluble vitamins, even if we were to eat a lot of them, then the body will be able to excrete through the liver, except for B6, which actually are meat, poultry, and fish prominent. So you need to make sure that you only eat that food that is rich in whatever things that are going to to help you. All right. Then we look at minerals. What are minerals? We used to call them mineral salts when we were in, I think, secondary school or primary school. We were talking about mineral salts, isn't it? Okay, mineral salts or minerals are generally chemical elements that are essential nutrients and also required for the body's metabolism. So, they will be found, some will be required for bone development, for brain development, for generally homeostasis. Remember homeostasis in biology, where we are talking about the cations and the anions in the body, and the way they are exchanged through walls and getting into the body through osmotic pressures. I think we remember that. So it is very important in the body for you to have such things. And of course, we shall be looking at each one of them and where they are found. And also, if you eat too little of them, what kind of nutritional disorder you get? And when you eat too much of it, what nutritional disorder you get? Okay, so we start by the ones that are most important, like we have potassium, chlorine, sodium, calcium, and phosphorus. Those are the most important of the mineral salts, because they are needed in quite in large amounts in the body, more than others. The others are found in trace, like 0.0 something of a milligram. You can imagine what a milligram is, but the others may be required in bigger amounts. And the figures I'm showing you actually are for a normal adult, a man or a woman who is not pregnant or is not lactating. So a normal human being with as in like everything is normal. Okay. All right. So if you cannot see the screen, you tell me, because I don't want us to get a situation where the screen is not being shared. Can you see the screen? Can you see me, Ross?
No. No.
Okay. I think the screen share has started acting again. So we are talking about minerals, and we can say that, like we said, we have the major ones that actually are required in a bit more, in a larger amount more than others. So we said it is a chemical element required as an essential nutrient by organisms to perform functions necessary for life. The major ones are calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, magnesium, and we also have chlorine, being in very big amounts, although it is actually seen under the trace elements. All the remaining elements in a human body are called trace elements, and they are they are required in very small amounts in the body. Now, there's a key there. RDA means recommended dietary allowances, and UL means tolerable upper intake level. So how much the body requires, and this is for a grown-up adult that is not either lactating or pregnant. So we look at the first ones, and that is potassium, chlorine, and sodium, potassium, calcium. So potassium is required in 4,700 milligrams daily intake. Okay, it is an electrolyte and is essential in co-regulating ATP or adenosine triphosphate with sodium. Actually, it's a job that is shared by sodium and potassium to regulate adenosine triphosphate in the body. They are found in sweet potato, tomato, potato, beans, lentils, dairy products, seafood, banana, prawns. Prawns are plums that have been dried. I don't know why when they are not dried, they don't have potassium, but once they are dried, they tend to have quite an amount of potassium. Then we have carrots and oranges. Then we have terms for deficiency. There are hypokalemia and hyperkalemia. So we shall those ones I may not be talking about them a lot. You'll be able to look at them later on. Then we have chlorine. Chlorine is required in 2,300 grams per day. And of course, it is needed for production of hydrochloric acid in the stomach and in cellular pump function. It is found in table salt, okay, and sea salt too. Of course, if you don't have it, you have hypochloremia or hyperchloremia if you have if you eat too much of it. Okay. The next one is sodium. Sodium is required in 1,500 milligrams per day, and then as it is an electrolyte and is also essential in co-regulating adenosine triphosphate with potassium. Okay, it is also found in table salts and sea vegetables and milk and spinach. Sea vegetables are like sea kales, anything that is growing in a salty sea. Okay, if you don't get enough, you have hyponatremia. If you get too much, you have hypernatremia. We also have calcium. Calcium is required in 1,200 milligrams per day. It is needed for muscle, heart, and digestive system health. It builds bones and supports synthesis and function of blood cells. It is found in dairy products. It is found in eggs, canned fish with bones, salmon, sardines, green leafy vegetables, nuts, and seeds. You can also find it in tofu. Tofu is actually from soya beans. Then in herbs such as thyme, oregano, and dill, and spice such as cinnamon. So you'll find them in all those kind of foods. Then we have phosphorus. Phosphorus is required in a daily around 700 milligrams, and it is also a component of bone cells. It is required in energy processing, in DNA, and also processing that adenosine triphosphate. Processing it, not regulating it, but processing it. Okay. Then it is found in red meat, dairy foods like milk and its products, fish, poultry, bread, rice, oats, and in biological context, it is usually seen as phosphate. In any anything that has, any sort of phosphate, it has phosphorus. Okay. Then we have the others. Now we have magnesium also, which is at 420 milligrams, and of course it is required for processing of adenosine triphosphate and for bones. Can be found in spinach, in legumes, those are the beans, then nuts, then cereals, or what they're calling seeds, whole grain cereals, peanut butter, and avocado. Okay. If you don't get enough, you have hypomagnesemia, or when you have too much, you have hypermagnesemia. All right. Then we have iron. Iron is required in trace, so you can see it is only 18 milligrams per day. 18 milligrams per day is quite a small amount. Then it is required for many proteins and enzymes, notably hemoglobin, to prevent anemia. So it is required for the production of the red blood cells and generally boosting blood levels. It is found in meats. It is found in seafood, that is fish and shellfish. It is found in nuts. It is found in beans or the legumes again, and in dark chocolates, cocoa. And dark chocolate, as in when cocoa has been used to produce the dark chocolate for cooking. If you don't have enough, you have what we call iron deficiency. And if you have too much, you have iron overload disorder. Then you have another trace element. We have zinc at 11 milligrams per day. It is required for several enzymes such as carboxypeptidase, hiyo ni ya ku break down proteins, liver alcohol dehydrogenase. So that also is for regulating the amount of alcohol in the body, and carbon anhydrase. Carbonic anhydrase is for digesting carbohydrates. So we have foods that are rich in zinc are oysters. Oysters are a mollusk that are found in shells. We have red meat. That means we have pork. No, not pork, but beef, mutton, and the veal and lamb. Then we have poultry, nuts, and whole grains and dairy products. Then we also have manganese. Manganese is a core factor in enzyme functions. So just like we are seeing the usage of vitamins for as enzymes in body functions, the same for manganese there. It is found in grains, in legumes, in nuts, and leafy vegetables, and tea and coffee. If you don't have it enough, you have manganese deficiency. If you have too much, you have manganism. Then we have copper. Copper is at 0.9 milligrams. That is very little. 0.9 milligrams. It is required for many redox enzymes, including cytochrome C oxidase. So generally, it is required to produce enzymes, or rather to ensure that we have enzymes in the body, particularly cytochrome oxidase. Then we have sources for copper. We have liver, seafood, oysters, nuts, seeds, some whole grains, and legumes. We have iodine. Iodine is actually found in salt, or actually it is called iodized table salt. That means it has been fortified with iodine. It is required for the synthesis of the thyroid hormones, that is thyroxine and thyroid or the renin, and to prevent goiter. Of course, if you don't have good function of the thyroid gland, you get a disease we call goiter, where something you get a swelling kwa neck, and of course it's in a affect maybe your taste buds and such other things. So the food iodine can be found in seaweed and grains and eggs, and in iodized salt, as in salt that has been fortified with iodine. Okay. Then we have chromium. Chromium also is actually found in 0.035 milligrams per day in the body. It is involved in glucose and lipid metabolism, so helps production of insulin and such in the body. Also, although its mechanism of action is in the body and the amounts needed are not well defined. Okay, but we can see it's 0.035. We may find it in broccoli, in grapes or grape juice, especially the red grapes. Then meat and whole grain products. Then we have molybdenum. molybdenum. Molybdenum is found in 0.045 milligrams daily. It actually produces enzymes like the oxidases, that is the aldehyde oxidase, sulfite oxidase, and xanthine oxidase. So it helps in the production of such enzymes in the body. Then it is found in legumes and whole grains and nuts. Okay. Then we have the selenium. Selenium is found in 0.055 milligrams per daily. Is rather required in 0.055 milligrams per daily. It is essential to activity of antioxidants, enzymes, and like glutathione peroxidase. Okay, peroxidase generally tumeiona somewhere in vitamin B, where we said that it is required in the body for doing what? Tumesema pyroxidine ilikuwa ya kufanya kazi gani kwa mwili? Pyridoxine, vitamin B6, which we said is also found in meat, fish, poultry, and vegetables and fruits, and is needed for protein metabolism and helps in making red blood cells. Okay. Right, then we have it right there in the kind of foods that we also found it in vitamin B6. So Brazil nut, seafood, organ meats, grain, dairy products, eggs. And then we have cobalt. Cobalt actually is in the very smallest trace. So that is why unaona imeandikwa hapo none. Okay, it is required in the synthesis of vitamin B12. But because bacteria are required to synthesize the vitamin, it is now usually considered as part of vitamin B12. Okay, it comes from eating animals and animal-sourced food, like eggs. So meats and eggs will give us cobalt for the synthesis of vitamin B12. Okay, those are the mineral salts. Okay, so if those are the mineral salts, then what does that mean? That we need them in the body for serious functions in the body, and we cannot be able to, live without these things. And as long as we are eating, all the maybe the foods that are out there, we will find that we will be having at least a supply of some of these things. I mean of all these things. So at least if you're eating meat products, even once in a week, and also eating a lot of legumes, like legumes should be eaten a lot. Remember, vitamin B6, when you eat too much of it, it brings disorders in the body. So meats, poultry, and fish should not be eaten in very big amounts. If you're eating it on a daily basis and maybe in large amounts, it could actually be exposing your body to a disorder. So it's good that you do the vitamins, the proteins that are healthier, and those are the protein. The plant proteins like the legumes, beans, lentils, peas, and grams. Yeah, you substitute your meat protein with the plant protein for better health and a lot of what we call soluble fiber, isn't it? We said that soluble fiber will be found in fruits and vegetables, and of course, it is the one that makes the stool to be soft enough to leave the body. Otherwise, you'll have issues with constipation if you only eat the meat and not vegetables. Okay, so then now we look at the last. We look at the last of the nutrients, and that is water. Now, when you hear the word water, what comes into your mind? You can unmute yourself and talk. Lorato, what comes into your mind when you see the word water? Godfrey?
Maji.
Maji, yes, it is generally water. And believe you me, we will have water in most foods, even the dry cereals that we see akina Weetabix or hiyo unga ya ugali ama ya ngano, it has some moisture in it, like it provides 10% of your water. Then we have vegetables. Vegetables and fruits also provide 20% of the water in your body. So like when you have eaten your vegetables and fruits in the right way, at least you're getting 20% of water in them. Then of course 70% is going to come from drinking fresh water and drinking other fluids like tea, coffee, fruit juice. What else do you take? Soda, all those, any other liquid, porridge, milk, any other liquid that you take has a lot of water in it. Like milk has 84% water. Is it 84 or 87? Around there, okay? So that means that when you have taken milk, like a baby, a newborn baby feeds on the mother's milk, isn't it? So that baby is getting all its daily water intakes from the mother. Okay, so why do we need water in the body? Why do we need water in the body? It balances the osmotic pressure in the cells, especially in the homeostasis and also in metabolisms. Like we require water in the stomach so that, to neutralize to make the hydrochloric acid in the stomach to be, weak. Okay, to be a weak concentrate. So we need water in the body for so many reasons: to keep our skin dry, moisturized, to keep our hair looking healthy. We need water to make sure that those cells in the body, or rather, the transmission of the anions and the cations in homeostasis is actually happening in the right way, and that
carry oxygen.
Yes?
Carry oxygen and the nutrients in the body.
Yes, generally its work is to help in the regulation of maybe concentrations in the body. So let us look at them. That is, can you see it? Can you see water?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we have the human body can last weeks without food, but only days without water. Okay. It is the body is made up of 50 to 75% water, and it forms the basis of blood, digestive juices, urine, and perspiration, and is contained in lean muscle, fat, and bones. Okay, the body cannot be able to store water, so we need fresh supplies every day to make up for losses during like sweating and respiration and digestion. Okay, so what are the importances of water? So water is required in the body for different reasons, like it carries nutrients and oxygen to cells. It aids digestion and prevents constipation. It moisturizes the skin. It regulates body temperatures through sweating. It moistens mucous membranes such as those of the lungs and mouth and lubricate cushion joints. Cushion joints are like near the knee, where we call it, we talk of synovial fluid that is supposed to create shock absorption for the knee, such cushion joints. Then regulate body temperature, help eliminate the byproducts of the body's metabolism. Like when from through your urine, we remove excess proteins, like through urea in the urine. We also are able to remove excess minerals like sodium and potassium. Then we have maintaining the health and integrity of every cell in the body. Okay, and also keeping the bloodstream liquid enough. So that means the blood requires a lot of water to be able to freely flow in the blood vessels, isn't it? So water is very important in our diet, and you will realize also that normal adults, like normal men, will require like 2.6 liters of water per day from the age of 19 kwenda juu. And then women will require like 2 liters from 19 years kwenda juu. But you will realize that for lactating and pregnant mothers, they will require like 2.6 liters. Then very small kids, like the infants 0 to 7 months, they only require 700 ml. That is 0.7 liters of water per day. While teenagers will require 1.8 liters. And that is very important. Then a pregnant teenager will require like 2 liters of water. And if she's lactating, 2.3. Okay, so we are seeing different water intake requirements, because the body may be requiring these depending on its situation. The body, the pregnant woman will require water, so that the amniotic fluid does not lessen in the womb, because the child requires it to survive, isn't it? So she needs that water. Then when she's lactating, she needs even more, because when the baby is suckling, of course they're suckling liquid, so that liquid is being produced by the body, and the body must have some a supply or a replenishing. Okay, so we will also realize that some people may need less water and others may need more than the recommended daily intake. How and why? So let us see, and I want you to tell me, when do you think you will require less water in your body? Tabitha, when will you not take a lot of water? And even you realize that there are times that you don't feel like taking water. When are these times?
Most of the time when I'm sick.
When you're sick, you don't want to take water?
Yes.
What about now? What about when it is very cold?
Even during cold season,
yes, when it is very cold,
I don't take water.
You don't like taking water, isn't it? Even other fluids, you will find that you're not yes. Even getting thirsty for tea and coffee and such other things, isn't it? But when it is very hot, yes, you want to take something, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we need less water when it is very cold. And again, when we do not do a lot of hard work, like we are not manual workers. We are sedentary workers. Like me, I'm a sedentary worker, because like the way I'm here, I'm working, but seated on the in front of my laptop, isn't it? That person who is working in the office using a pen and the laptop, they are actually sedentary workers. But those people who are out there, maybe anajenga nyumba, analima, those people require more water because after all they'll be exposed to the sun, isn't it? Yes. Then when do we need more water? When do we need more water? Godfrey?
Most of the time when I'm...
Yes, Tabitha?
When I'm so dehydrated.
When do you get dehydrated? When do you get dehydrated?
Nikienda hosi niongezee maji.
Na Tabitha, like when it is very sunny.
Hot. Summer season.
Exactly. When it is very sunny and hot, you get dehydrated, isn't it? Hata unasikia tu kwa, you know, you're parched but in the throat, isn't it? Then you need water or any other beverage, isn't it? So we need water when the weather is too hot. When we are sick, and when we are sick and maybe diarrheaing and vomiting, we also get dehydrated, and that is where now Tabitha is going. Okay, but I don't know. I mean, like, how many times would you have been dehydrated? I mean, dehydrated and needed IV transfusion, nani Tabitha?
Most of the time when I'm sick.
When you're sick?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. When people are diarrheaing, they tend to be dehydrated, and they require a lot of water. When people are doing a lot of manual exercise, like athletes, footballers, and such other people, when they are out there exercising, they also require a lot of water. It is required to make sure that the body is able to continue sweating and doing those other things that it still does in the body, isn't it? Yes. So we will find that we don't need the same amount of water across. So men require more water than women. Okay. And a normal man without any other issues, not training, or rather not involving himself in very manual activities, will require less water than a lactating or pregnant woman. Okay. Yes. So that is it. We now let me just share the water in our food. We said that we will get like how much? The body will get 20% of its water requirement from solid foods alone. Then the process of digesting food also produces amount of water as a byproduct, and that is like 10%. And then the remaining 70% also of water required by the body must come from fluids or liquids. Okay, so the body is able to produce 10% of the water. The rest of the food will give you 20%. But also people who take a lot of vegetables and fruits, because they are very rich in water, also may require to take less water. Okay, so less or more amounts of water is needed when for less, we say when we eat a lot of high water content foods such as fruits and vegetables in very cold environments, and for the people who are largely sedentary, and they don't do a lot of they don't do any manual work, then other people might need more fluid than the amount listed and will need to increase their fluid intake if they are on a high protein diet. Okay, protein diets tend to dehydrate the body. And protein diet, let me go back there. Protein diet, I'm a supplement. Yeah, when you have protein diet, of course, like meat and poultry and all, they will require a lot of water to be synthesized in the body. Okay, then we have the protein supplement. And I'm sure maybe you have seen a protein supplement, maybe for a very sick person, like palliative patients, maybe someone who is battling maybe cancer in the last stages. Okay, they have these mkebe wanapewa in the hospital, alafu anaweka kwa liquid, anaikunywa, hata anaambiwa tu hata alambe tu, something like that, isn't it? Yes, so they require a lot of water in their system to be able to have those, to actually synthesize those proteins once they get into the body. And a person who is getting protein supplements mostly is one who will be unable to actually digest the proteins in the food. Like haezi kula nyama aweze kuidigest, ama mayai, ama hizo vegetables. So anapewa protein supplements in a form of a powder that anaweza mix na maji akunywe. Okay, yes, so that is it. And you find that they need lots of liquids for protein synthesis. Then we also talk about those on a high fiber diet to help prevent constipation. If you are on a high fiber diet, you need a lot of water to prevent constipation, and also you vomiting or having diarrhea to replace the extra fluids lost. Then physically active people to replace excess fluids lost through sweat, and then exposed to warm or hot conditions to replace the extra fluids lost through sweat. And that is why you find that people have heat stroke, isn't it? Heat stroke, ama if you stay in the sun so much, unakuta ngozi, skin inatoka. Why? Because maybe you don't have enough water, so the body is unable to sweat, and because when it sweats, it provides what? Water kwa skin, and that means that the skin will not be scorched. But if you don't have enough water, hata sweat itatoka wapi? Where will you get the sweat if you don't have enough water in the body? You will not, isn't it? Okay, so now let me just share something under word. Can you see it? Can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me maybe make it a bit big. Is that?
It's okay.
Better now? Yes.
Yes.
So we have intakes maji for different people in different situations. Like we said, infants between 0 and 6 months, they require 0.7 water. Infants between 7 and 12 months, 0.8 liters. Girls and boys aged between 1 and 3 years, 1 liter. Boys and girls aged 4 to 8 years, 1.2. Boys aged between 9 and 13, 1.6. Girls aged between 9 to 13 years, 1.4. Boys aged between 14 years and 18, 1.9 liters. Girls aged between 14 and 18 years, 1.6 liters. You can always see that boys are taking more water than the girls, isn't it? Then men aged 19 years and over, they require 2.6 liters of water. Women aged between 19 years and over require 2.1 liters. Pregnant girls aged between 14 and 18 years require 1.8 liters, and their counterparts required 1.6 liters, isn't it? Then women aged 19 years, pregnant women aged between 19 years and over require 2.3 liters of water. And lactating girls between 14 years and 18 years require 2.3 liters of water, while the pregnant women aged between 19 years and over require 2.6 liters of water. Okay. Yes, so that is what intakes you need to do. And that now will bring us to our discussion. Really thinking about all these nutrients, all of the 6 nutrients, and the fact that we have found that the first 3, which is fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, tend to increase weight if taken in very large amounts, and the other 3 have no calorific value at all, or maybe very little. We have seen that they may need to do what? We may need to maybe design our plate, how much of what you take. And remember, when we were talking about introduction to food science and nutrition, we saw the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture's recommendation for a daily plate and for the food pyramid. The daily plate showed like a third of vegetables and fruits, a third of cereals and grains, and out of the other third, we had like a 1/6 of protein, then a 1/6 of fats, and a 1/6 of milk products. So you actually find that things like sugar and snacks they were not even anywhere in the picture. They were just like eat less often in very small amounts, isn't it? So if you're designing your plate, it is good that you ensure that you have more fats. More cereals and vegetables and fruits in your plate. Do not indulge so much with the meats. Remember, they are very rich in vitamin B6, and if you eat too much of it, it gives a disorder ama inaleta toxins kwa mwili. So you need to generally limit yourself with the meat. In fact, eat more plant protein than animal protein. Okay. All right, so I think we can wrap up for today, and maybe you go and continue looking at the notes, and if you find anything, just come back here. I'm right here waiting for you.